Growing up, I thought having good grades was what mattered the most to become a successful person. There was a lot of pressure in my community to succeed. The expectation for children was to earn not only A's, but A plus for every single course. In fact, as a young person, there were only three career options available to me: doctor, lawyer, failure. So, as an obedient daughter, I worked extremely hard to earn all the good grades because I didn't want to be perceived as a failure. I mean, who would? As a result, I became one of the hardest working students in all of my classes. Indeed, I got all the A's possible, and I even managed to get a few degrees. In fact, I got the terminal degree in my field of study. There are literally no more degrees after a PhD. From the outside, I was probably every teacher's parents' dream student. But internally, I was collapsing. I felt paralyzed by the pressure to compete and succeed. The pressure was so intense that learning had become a chore and accumulation of points. School, as a result, had become a terrible cycle. Suffer, ace the exam, and repeat. I didn't realize how damaging this cycle was until I became a college professor. I started to see what I experienced as a student happening to my own undergraduate students in front of my eyes. The stress, the obsession with grades, the lack of spark in most students' eyes. After observing this for more than 10 years in the classroom, I finally came to the conclusion. I was part of the problem. What I was doing as a college professor was simply perpetuating a broken education model. Even more so, I discovered the thing that everyone cares so much about, aka grade, has little to do with anyone's career or life success. This may sound counterintuitive to you, but hear me out. Research has actually demonstrated an inverse relationship between grade point average and innovation orientation. What this means is that the higher the grade, the less likely a student is interested in innovation. Besides hurting innovative intentions, studies have also shown that as students receive more formal schooling, they are actually becoming less curious and ask fewer questions in class. In fact, I saw what was suggested in all of those studies in my teaching career all the time. As a college professor of more than 10 years, the most commonly asked questions that I got were not necessarily intellectually stimulating questions related to what I was teaching in the classroom, but questions like this. Dr. I, will this be on the exam? Dr. I, if I don't do this, am I going to lose a point? Dr. I, could you please give us a template? Honestly, it felt quite miserable to be a teacher. However, I want to make it very clear that this is not to blame our teachers or students. In fact, this is nobody's fault. What we see here is simply a product of an antiquated education system. The system is obsolete. What needs to be fixed is not our teachers or students, but the system. The system is broken. Interestingly, in contrast to the system's obsession with grades, academic achievement, new hiring trends are actually emerging. More and more companies are devaluing the importance of grades. For example, the head of people operations at Google shared in an interview with the New York Times that GPAs are worthless as a hiring criteria, and test scores are worthless. In fact, 15 major companies no longer require college degrees in their hiring, including Google, IBM, and Starbucks. Elon Musk even tweeted to work for Tesla. He doesn't even care if you graduate high school or not. In addition to this trend to devalue the importance of degrees and grades, industry sectors and companies are launching their own career certificates. Last year, Google launched their own career certificates to replace the traditional four-year college for several high-demand positions. I predict it will only be a matter of time for other industry sectors and companies to catch up on this trend. The bottom line is no one cares about your grade. So, here is the bigger question. If grades do not matter, what does matter? Here is what I discovered after working with more than 2,000 students over the course of the last 15 years. My biggest aha discovery was that school-based learning was only a small portion of what was needed to help a young person become career-ready, life-ready, and future-ready. That's why I developed the iceberg model to help parents, students, and educators understand the missing links in the current education model and what we must supplement outside the classroom. Through my own learning, I discovered 3 key factors to anyone's career and life success. Those 3 factors include knowledge, life literacy, and mindset. Traditional schools only focus on academic knowledge, which is simply the tip of the iceberg to help a young person become career-ready and life-ready. What really keeps the iceberg afloat is life literacy and mindset. Life literacy consists of digital media literacy and 5 essential life skills, which are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and creative problem solving. Digital media literacy describes a student's ability to use social media to create and to effectively and creatively showcase a student's skills and expertise, and maybe even monetize them. Because if Google cannot find you, you do not exist. We are entering today's show me economy. The 5 essential life skills are what our students need to become future leaders. And those essential life skills simply cannot be developed by sitting in the classroom, taking exams, and regurgitating information. They have to be cultivated in real life and through real life examples. There is a big difference between scoring an A in a communication course, for example, versus demonstrating excellent communication skills in real life. Mindset is the engine driving the entire iceberg toward career success. Thousands of students that I have worked with in the past have the mentality that failures and mistakes are bad and should be avoided at all costs. However, if you interview any successful person, they will tell you that rejections, failures, and mistakes were the stepping stones to their career success. So, if our students continue to have the mentality that failures and mistakes are bad and should be avoided, how can we expect them to have the resilience to become future leaders? We need to normalize failures. We need to normalize mistakes in the classroom. And even more so, we need to teach our students how to self-regulate when they do fail, when they do make a mistake. Unfortunately, the current education system doesn't do that, other than punishing failures and mistakes. However, our education model did do an excellent job in terms of labeling our students and perpetuating those labels through stratification and our outdated evaluation system. Those labels tend to stay with our students for a long time and eventually become their identities. Unfortunately, hardly any school curriculum teaches our students how to navigate through those labels by tapping into the power of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity describes humans' ability to literally rewire our brain. As the word indicates, our brain is quite plastic. With the right tools and strategies, we can rewire our brain and remove those labels and shift our mindset from a fixed one to a growth one. So, how can we best implement this revised education model? I developed a 3-phase process to implement this model and to help a young person become career ready and future ready and life ready. The first phase is called preparation, which involves unlearning old practices and beliefs that are no longer serving today's students. The second phase is called creation, which is the core of this roadmap that I'm going to dive deeper in a second. The third phase is called acceleration, which combines a mastery of essential life skills and growth mindset. So, let's talk about creation. I believe creation is the highest level of learning and the key to solving today's education problems and the key to preparing our students to become future ready and career ready. Over the last several years, I have tested quite a number of creation-focused projects. There's one project that is generating transformational change in my students. It is an interview-based live streaming project. I have tested this project on hundreds of students and across a wide range of disciplines. The results are clear. This interview-based live streaming project is one of the best ways to help our students gain career clarity and develop essential life skills, like the 5 C's that we talked about before, which are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and creative problem solving. Plus, this project involves our students using social media tools that they are already using. However, this project flips the coin on social media. Instead of allowing social media to use our students, this project empowers our students to use social media to serve their own career and professional needs. There's a big difference. Plus, there's no better way to connect with our students than being on platforms that they already use. There is a famous quote: "Tell me, I forget. Teach me, I may remember. Involve me, and I learn." Do you still remember the stuff that your teachers taught you last year or the year before? If you are like me and most learners, you probably don't remember. If we don't learn like this, why do we teach like this?